Ariel Helwani at Madison Square Garden in New York City alongside the Dapper, Michael the Count Bisping, who of course meets Alan Belcher this Saturday night at UFC 159. And Mike, I got to say, on Monday, all eyes and ears were on Jon Jones and Chael Sonnen. You stole the show. Did you feel like you needed to amp that conference call up a little bit? Because let's be honest, it was getting a little dull.
Well, I didn't obviously, go into that conference call with the idea of, stealing the show, to use your words. I just waited patiently for my time to talk and said what came naturally. There were some questions directed at Alan Belcher, and I don't feel that he answered them correctly. They asked what a win over me would mean to his career, and he gave a very run-of-the-mill answer that I'm sure somebody with not too much brain power would normally suggest. And I was like, no, let me correct you there, Alan. A win over me would be the biggest win of your pathetic career, and I think that's accurate. But yeah, no, obviously I like to add a little colour here and there as I go along my way.
You didn't have to say pathetic, but you wanted to dig at him, right?
Of course I want to dig at him. We're going to fight on Saturday night, He's a good fighter. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He has some decent wins over some okay competition. He has some losses against some poor competition. I'm expecting a tough fight. I'm expecting the best Alan Belcher that there has been. He's come out of his shell a little bit, for this fight. He's tried to promote the fight and done these videos, etc. Some of which I've taken exception to, and he's kind of annoyed me. He did one where he'd superimposed himself onto an image of me getting knocked out by Dan Henderson, and on the video he's laughing his head off, he's in hysterics. I thought that was disrespectful to me and all fighters, really. It's a cruel sport, and one of the things that happens is sometimes we get knocked out. I thought as a fighter he would know better than to mock somebody getting knocked out. Well, obviously he doesn't, and also, he's never even fought anybody of the caliber of Dan Henderson or Vitor Belfort or anyone like that. He's been fighting mid-card talent his entire career, and he should know better. So Saturday night, I'm going to teach him a lesson.
Is this fight personal for you?
It is now. It is now, absolutely.
Because of that?
Well, because of that and because of some other stupid comments. And maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but for me, that's how I fuel myself as a fighter, and I'll cling on to some little things. But when I saw that really upset me, not because I'm touchy about it. I'm not touchy about it. I always make jokes about it myself. But just for another fighter to be standing there laughing at another fellow fighter getting knocked out, I always, I admire the skill and technique it takes, to deliver a knockout blow. Say if I'm watching a UFC event and somebody gets knocked out, I think, wow, that was an awesome technique. I don't take pleasure from seeing a fellow fighter on the floor unconscious. I don't like that, but that's just the way it goes. And for him to be laughing at somebody getting knocked out, I just thought, what the hell, what is going on with this guy? So I've got to teach him a lesson. And I'm glad he did that, because it's certainly, it's going to make me more aggressive on Saturday night.
Where do we stand with the bets? Because at first he threw out the bets and you kind of joked about what's going on with the bets?
I said on the countdown show, and I stand by it, I don't think there's much going on between the years. I did an interview and I said, I bet, and I was talking to the camera and I was saying, I bet I'm going to knock him out as a figure of speech. And I also said to the guy doing the interview, what I meant was, you should put some money on the fight, because I guarantee I'm going to finish him in the first round. Put some money on, make yourself some money. I wasn't making a bet with Alan Belcher, but he never understood that. So then obviously he did the whole tattoo bet, then he did the car bet, and it's just like, come on. And now he's saying because I didn't take the bet that I'm scared and I don't have the confidence to do that. Well, that's ridiculous. All I'm saying is, listen, I challenge you to a fight on Saturday night in front of hundreds of millions of people around the world, and the winner takes it all, the pride and glory. That's all I'm bothered about. You beat me on Saturday night. Do you think I'm bothered about getting a tattoo? Winning is everything to me. So, take your tattoo, take your car, and just go away.
Is he on your level?
I honestly don't. I don't believe so. No. No, he's not. No, honestly, I think really what sets us apart, because we're both, he's probably a little bit bigger than me. He's been around the UFC for a while. He's probably a very good athlete. I'm assuming he's strong. He has average Thai boxing. He has poor boxing. He has poor wrestling. He has a decent ground game, apparently. I've never seen him going for submissions, really, or a dangerous guard or sweeps or anything like that. But his mentality, I think, a big part of the fight game is mental. As I'm sure everyone's heard that before, but it's so true. And I think that's what sets us apart. And that's why he gets beat of guys like Jason Day, and that's why I finish him in the first round.
Last question. You know, it was interesting watching your transformation post Vitor Belfort fight when it comes out that he was on TRT and you put out that statement, and it was a very nice statement, and the news was almost
Never goes away.
and the news was, this is Michael Bisping all grown up, the professional Michael Bisping. And then since then, even your dad has gotten into the act. I've seen him tweet some stuff about Vitor Belfort. Does this still eat at you inside? Do you feel like you were wronged in that fight?
Well, it would have been nice to know that he was on TRT before the fight. Listen, you know, I'm sick of talking about this, to be quite frank.
But it's not the TRT question. Is it that fight? Does it still eat at you? Are you over the fight, or are you past? Okay.
I'm completely over it. All I'm thinking about now is Alan Belcher. Listen, I've just recently turned 34. I've still got a long time left in this sport. Almost getting to a title shot and then losing the fight. That is not going to be the story of my career, you know. Every time I've lost a fight, I've made big changes, and I've came back a much better fighter. I've done that this time, and sometimes it takes a loss, you know, to realise what you were doing wrong. And had I won that fight, the way I was preparing in the past, I probably would have lost to Anderson anyway. So this has done me a big favour. You know, you've got to be honest with yourself and make those changes. And I'm sure this sounds like either a cliche or a very good answer, or an excuse or whatever, but it's the truth. You know, I have made a lot of changes.
Like what?
Well, you know, I'm physically, mentally, discipline-wise, coaching-wise, structuring my training camps, overtraining, discipline between fights, eating the wrong foods, putting weight on. I had to fire some coaches, had to hire some new coaches, things like that. You know, many things. You know, and if I'm going to get to the top, you know, these are hard decisions that you've got to make. You know, and I've implied some of them, and there's still more to come.
Michael, always a pleasure. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Pleasure.